What's good? Bevan here with Tried and True EDC. Welcome back. And if this is your first time tuning in, thank you for your time. Before we jump in, let's talk quickly about the packaging. This is pretty standard Microtech packaging. You get the box, you get some pamphlet with some paperwork. It does come with a sticker. And then someone inspected this knife and put their signature on it. It also came in that baggie. So what we're looking at today is the Ultratech, and this is the Outbreak Signature Series. The steel that's used on this particular model is M390MK. I'll throw some information about what that is, but it is a dagger grind, as you can see. It has a fuller right in the middle of that dagger grind. Feels nice and sharp. We'll test that in just a moment. So typically when I do test cutting, I also have a zip tie and some poly rope. But this is on loan from my buddy Wes, and I want to respect it by not putting it to use and giving him the opportunity to do so. So I'm just going to slice some magazine paper. Maybe it could be a little more sharp. Switch to the other side. Well, it's not the sharpest I've had from Microtech. They tend to typically have a pretty sharp edge out the box, but it also plays into the edge geometry. This is thicker behind the edge, possibly, or maybe the angle I'm coming down at it. The Outbreak Signature Series is possibly my favorite that's come out in the last few years. It really kind of takes on that whole zombie apocalypse feel. It's got this dark green aluminum frame, and they thrown this red blood splatter on it. Hopefully it's not real blood. You can look at the hazard insignia right there. It is using Torx bits for the hardware, which I truly appreciate. Because if you're not familiar with Ultratech prior models, I can't recall which gen they changed it, but it is now coming in with Torx hardware versus their proprietary tool that they use. It's very clean. They've also changed the clip from previous Ultratech models and uses a ceramic ball to kind of slide in. It's also got a glass breaker at the very end of it, as you can see. And I've tested a Microtech glass breaker on really thick glass, and it does work. You can see the Microtech insignia on this side, and as I pointed out earlier, the hazard insignia on this one. Let's take a look at some size comparisons. So up top, I have the Microtech Troodon, and on the bottom, I have a Scarab 2. Both of which are considered Signature Series. And Ultratech is the smaller of the three, as you can see. And just to provide another frame of reference to a folding knife that's not an auto, it has a very similar overall length to a PM2 from Spyderco. The cutting edge, it's about the same. There's more belly on the PM2 though, just slightly, ever so slightly. Let's take a look at some dimensions. So the weight is coming in at 3.6 ounces. Overall length with the glass breaker is slightly over 8.25 inches. The blade itself is just shy of 3.5 inch, and then the cutting edge is slightly above 3 inches. The thickness, not including the pocket clip, is just under 1/2 inch. And the width with the slide is 1 1/8 inch. Now, what makes the ZBP so special? It stands for zero blade play. And going back to the introduction of this video, a lot of out the front automatics have a bit of blade plays. But just to show you, this one has barely any. It's funny because it has just a hint. I was expecting this to have none whatsoever. It is ever so slight. Just kind of give you another close-up of this one. You can hear that pretty easily. Right? Even the Scarab 2. Yeah. So compared to these two, it is very minimal. It is near zero blade play. However, just based on this one sample, I can't say that it doesn't have blade play. There's a slight bit of wiggle because they'll go back and forth, and you can feel the feedback on it. But that's what's making this so special. And the action is really nice. Ultratech is probably, well, you can go down lower. You can get a UTX 85 and I think UTX 70. There's other models that will be easier to actuate the slide. But compared to the Troodon and Scarab 2, this has an easier drivetrain than those. Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't even do anything with it and it came loose. Just drop that in and you're good to go again. I'm just playing to see if it'll happen again. All right, looks like we're good. So something to keep in mind, that's the first time I've ever had a Microtech out the front kind of just fail from me deploying it back and forth. Usually if you stab into something that has a safety feature on it that won't let you stab through it, and then it would come off the track. Let me show you what I mean. So here's just a piece of cardboard. I'm going to slide it into it and you'll see it come off. There you go. Most out the fronts double actions that I have handled has that safety feature, so to speak. The ergonomics on the Ultratech is nice. You can easily get a full finger grip. I have medium-sized hands, and it's comfortable to use. I will say though, and we'll get to the pocket clip, that the ceramic ball actually presents more of a hot spot than a flatter pocket clip, let's say on the Troodon. Because the flatter, this part, even though it ramps up, it kind of falls into the swell of your palm. But then again, it's a different handle size, right? However, this one, yeah, it falls into the swell of the palm as well. But if you kind of choke up on it, let's say you're in a saber grip, you will feel that ceramic ball dig into this portion of your hand. Let's see in the reverse grip. Feels good. The hot spots are very minimal, if anything. More like just a slight bit of pressure from that ceramic ball. Hammer grip. It's about the same. I wouldn't say one feels better than the other. So this is a titanium pocket clip. It is reversible. If you take a tool, which appears to be a Torx wrench, take that apart, you should be able to flip the clip to the other side so that way you can position it for a left-handed carry. Interesting enough, people carry tip-up knives depending on the orientation. So that way, if it's tip-up, you have the blade won't be able to open inside your pocket. Instead, it hits the outside of your pocket, right? Or inside, but against the lining. But without the front, since it's going out the front, regardless if you don't need to switch the clip to carry it on your left-hand side, unless you're left-handed. And then that way, as you pull it out, you're able to extract it. Whereas if you were to pull it on the left side, you would have to reorient it and then deploy. Let's take a shot of this in the pocket. Okay, so, it's got a bit of retention on that. Easy out, takes a little bit more oomph to get it in. The Ultratech is fairly slim, so I wouldn't say, does not take up much real estate at all whatsoever. Easy to get your hand in there. You do see quite a bit of the knife sticking out, the handle at least is what I mean. But otherwise, it's nicely done. It's a change from for instance, let's take a look at the Scarab. It's a change, and I like it. It's different because it doesn't have this double ramp. Well, this is not a good example because that feels very high. Let's take a look at that Combat Troodon. You see how low that one dips right there? So it's kind of like a second retention point. So you got to get past 2 retention points before you can extract a knife. Whereas on the Ultratech with the new pocket clip, it's just 1 retention point, which is where the ceramic ball touches the frame. My buddy Wes got this from NC Blade. It is currently available at the time of this recording, which is on October 24th, 2025. Can't say it will stay in stock for too long because the Signature Series, especially the Outbreak, tends to sell out pretty quickly. These are going for $470 and some change, so under $474. You can also find it at your other favorite retailers online, or I'm sure there's a showroom or a brick and mortar you can check out. Again, this is one of the newer versions with their zero blade play technology or mechanism, so to speak, as well as this pocket clip, which utilizes a ceramic ball for the retention. What are my final thoughts? I used to have an Ultratech, but I got rid of it because I went through this entire phase where I liked larger knives. Now that I'm getting one back in hand, this is very capable. It's really a full-size knife. It looks larger than it really is, especially when you look when you're talking about the cutting edge, right? Because when we measured it, it was slightly over 3 inches. But 3 inches of cutting edge can get majority of EDC tasks completed. So I wouldn't shy away from it if you're a larger knife person. This, I think, will work perfectly fine. Personally, dagger grinds aren't something I would choose for versatility. Definitely more intention when you go into creating a dagger grind, for instance, self-defense. But my buddy actually carries a Glycon that I sold him, the same buddy who is loaning me this knife for the review. It has a bayonet style grind, and he's been using it for EDC tasks, and he loves it. So very capable for what you need it for. But in terms of, like, say, food prep or some other tasks, it's going to be very limited. I really love the finish on this, and it's very different. If you're not familiar with their Outbreak series, no two knives should look the same because the splatter pattern is not calculated in the sense where you'll get symmetry amongst different models or different units of the same model. And it just looks very nice. It's got, especially if you're into zombies, zombie apocalypse. I've watched most shows about zombies, and so this definitely has that appeal to me. The ability to be able to swap the clip to a left-handed carry seems to be easier than the way they've created for their previous models, for instance, such as the Scarab 2. The prior models of Ultratech is a very similar setup, and you have to use a tool to twist the glass breaker off so you can flip it around. And while I haven't actually disassembled it, this appears just from looking at it, it would be easier to swap the clip. M390MK hasn't been a steel I've tested. I have a lot of testing videos on my channel, but this is not one of them. So I am curious to see how M3MK performs. If I find any information online, I will include that in the description so you can check that out as a resource. Under $471, it's hovering on that high end, price point, but a lot of that is going towards Microtech as a brand. It's going towards the appeal of a signature series, the Outbreak Signature Series, and so the limited and somewhat exclusive availability of it is playing into that price point as well. For the most part, if you want to pick up a Microtech that's the plain Jane version, maybe with some different anodizations, those I want to say go around $300. I think this is a good option if you're a fan of that apocalypse, zombie apocalypse theme. If you like exclusive knives, which, once you get into this hobby, you're bound to want to get some knives that are not readily available and not everyone has, right? It creates that uniqueness in this hobby. Overall, I think this is a really nice one. It was surprising for me how well I liked it, given that I sold my original Ultratech. Very nice, though. Hopefully that failed deployment from multiple deployments and firing it was more of a one-off than an actual issue. But hopefully I will let my buddy know about it. He'll probably watch this video as well. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the whole zero blade play mechanism, there's controversy between Microtech and Hawk knives. So the deadlock is one of Hawk knives' design that doesn't have any blade play whatsoever, completely eliminated. And so this, again, has a smidge of play, like ever so slightly. Maybe enough for you to not consider it blade play. However, I'm feeling some feedback when I do that, especially right here internally in the handle. I don't want to get into it because I know that, it's kind of I don't know if it's an ongoing litigation still, but I know that there is some drama between Hawk knives and Microtech. So if you're not familiar, you can go online, check that out. I don't really want to put their business on blast. But Hawk knives is the first to come out with a deadlock that doesn't have any blade play. There might have been some others in the past. I'm not familiar, but for me, the deadlock is the first one to do so. Microtech did a nice job with this one. but the blade play is not completely eliminated. So let's see if you can see any movement. Is there a movement? You can't really see the movement, but you can feel it. Let me know if you're a fan of Microtech, if you got an Ultratech in your collection, or maybe you like the Outbreak series. I know my buddy's gonna be extremely excited to check this out. He loaned it to me before he even had a chance to look at it, so I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay frosty.